Welcome to the riding of Don Valley West, home of the future Eglinton Crosstown line.
Well, I love meeting you out on the street this morning and people walking by saying, "Good morning, Andy." Obviously, they're all customers. And,
John Carmichael is the incumbent and running again for the Conservative Party. He won his seat by only 611 votes back in 2011. We caught up with him at a gourmet food shop, wooing the small business vote.
Hi, Rena. Good to see you. Have we met before?
No.
I don't remember meeting you, but I've been in your building a few times.
Oh, have you?
Rob Oliphant is the Liberal candidate and has held the riding before. Ryerson political science professor Meyer Semiatycki calls this race the Battle of the Titans.
I think the personalities and how tight the election was the last time round. It was generally speaking, to generalize, it's an affluent, heavily engaged community. There's going to be a high degree of voter turnout there. In the last election, both of the candidates got 22,000 and something votes. So this time round, I think the focus of attention is, well, can Oliphant and the Liberals reclaim the seat? And I suppose the difference in the dynamic this time round is that last election, of course, we had the virtual collapse of the Liberal Party. And so one can imagine that a lot of traditional Liberal support went to Mr. Harper and went to Mr. Carmichael. Can Carmichael hold those votes this time around in the context of a resurgence of Mr. Trudeau, of Justin Trudeau, the new leader? That's going to be, I think it's going to be a tough challenge for Mr. Carmichael to hold on to that seat.
तो इस इलेक्शन के लिए आज हम लोग आए हैं, we're just knocking on doors. तो आप इस इलेक्शन पे वोट कर रही हैं, बहुत ज़रूरी है, it's very important. तो did you get one of these cards?
Saida Riaz is running as part of Tom Mulcair's NDP team. She's a law student who is putting her education on hold for the election campaign. Don Valley West is arguably one of the most diverse ridings in the country. It includes multi-million-dollar mansions like this one on the bridle path to the north, and the densely populated multicultural neighborhood of Thorncliffe Park to the south, home to the largest proportion of Muslim residents of any Canadian federal riding. This riding also encompasses the massive campus of Sunnybrook Health Sciences Centre and the small, leafy streets of Leaside. Don Valley West is also one of the wealthiest ridings in Canada. The average family income is $218,000. 40% of residents are university educated. In Thorncliffe Park, in contrast, there is a 2-year waiting list for subsidized housing, and the elementary school is the largest in Canada. As a candidate, how do you appeal to the billionaire up in the bridle path and the struggling immigrant in Thorncliffe Park? How do you do that as one person?
And everything in between. I mean, the reality is in this riding, we've got new Canadians who are trying to make their way, and we have well-established Canadians who are creating jobs every day. So I actually think there's more in common than not. What there is the need to build prosperity, to create an economy that works, and frankly, the wealthy will prosper. But if the wealthy are prospering, also I believe that means there are more jobs, and so that new Canadians who are coming into this place are going to have a sense that they have a future. And so the differences, while they seem stark, when it comes to many issues, they're very much in line. So that I actually do believe that if we build infrastructure, which is a big issue in the north, you know, people really do want to have a transit system that works. And, you know, those who are involved and engaged in the economy at that level are they're going to do well with this. But at the same time, those who need transit will be able to get around, they'll be able to get to their job in a more affordable way, and they'll be creating jobs. They're actually going to be building the infrastructure. So it's a win-win.
We represent in this riding what I think is probably the best representation of all of Canada when you look at the range of income, you look at ethnicity, you look at culture, all of the different things that we pride as a nation, you can find right here in Don Valley West. And my job is really simple. It's to serve the people of Don Valley West, regardless of income, regardless of ethnicity. My job is to be here to look after their needs, to appeal to their needs, and to serve them as my constituents.
Because I'm an immigrant, come from an immigrant family myself, I understand the needs of an immigrant. Now, reaching out to the billionaires, I cannot make an assumption for them. I don't know if I can appeal to them, but my job as a candidate is to reach out to them. Whether they like my platform or they don't like my platform, we'll find out October 19. We can appeal to the immigrant side of the community, but for the billionaires, I can try. I can try. It's not necessary that they're going to like what I have to say, but I will keep trying.
Immigration policy is of key concern to many constituents, especially in the southern part of the riding.
I applied at least 3.5 years ago, my family in Pakistan. I am still under process. This is the farm, you can see. This is the farm.
So the immigration is very slow.
Immigration is very slow, and they demand that document which is totally illogical.
And one of my platform is that I want to work on getting family reunification back into our immigration system, making it more stronger.
I'd love to bring more. I'd love to be more responsive, and that's what I do every day, is try to make sure that somebody has an issue, I'm dealing with it.
A lot of people say it moves too slowly, though.
Well, I think our job really simply is do what we can to improve the process. And that has been, the Minister of Immigration has been very clear in that regard. And I think that anytime you have family who are separated and you have a family member here trying to unify or reunite with their family from another country, clearly it's a very emotional issue. And so when I sit with families every day and talk about bringing a loved one from another country or a family member from another country, absolutely, they miss their family, they want to be reunited, and my job is to do the best I can to get them here as fast as possible.
Bill C-24 is another one. It makes us a second-tier citizen. If you are deemed a threat to Canada or any sort of thing, you can be sent back to the country that you came from.
The issue around Bill C-24 is quite critical for people. Very few people are going to be arrested, detained, or lose their citizenship because of those changes. But what it does is it opens the door to say, your citizenship, if you're born outside of Canada, is not the same as my citizenship because I'm born in Canada. That is horrendous.
As in other ridings across the country, the Syrian refugee crisis is an important issue in Don Valley West. What are people telling you about how our country is handling the Syrian refugee crisis?
Well, I think it's really clear on the Syrian refugee crisis. We want to see the process improved, sped up, more efficient, as the minister has stated. In fact, Minister Kenny was just quoted the other day as saying we're doing everything we can right now to improve. Let's not forget that we have already brought and settled some 25,000 refugees from Iraq and Syria. And the other part of that I think is important, I stood on the Syrian-Jordanian border in January of this year, and I watched as 1,000 Syrians came across that border. Men, women, children, seniors, grandparents, carrying all their worldly belongings. And we as a group helped to bring them across. We went out and carried babies across, carried young ones across. Hey, rip your heart out. So my job as a member of Parliament is to encourage our government just to do more, do it faster, and we've been doing that for a year and a half.
It is a voter issue right now. I'm hearing it at the door. People are telling me they're wanting Canada not only to be seen to be good, but to be good. And I'm hearing that. And it is, I mean, it's not unanimous. I can't say it's a consensus, but it's a dominant thought.
Globally, obviously, we're concerned about immigration. As a mother, you want to see the right thing done there, absolutely, and we should let more people in immediately, no questions asked.
Some of the people living here are refugees or were refugees. Yeah. Do they relate to what's going on in Europe?
I haven't, honestly, they haven't brought this up. I have knocked on doors. They have not brought this up. I'm sure they have concerns, but they have not been directly been asked this question because they have their own concerns. They have their own difficulties, right? They work jobs at nighttime. They work 12-hour shifts. So for them, it's surviving. For them, it's putting food on the table. That is the most important thing for them. Yes, refugee crisis is important, but to them, they're refugees themselves.
The issue of the economy is important, both for those struggling to get ahead and those looking to preserve the status quo.
I think they want economic policies that favor the affluent, the wealthy, the well-to-do, the business sector, the corporate sector. They believe, perhaps notwithstanding the reality of the economy, that Mr. Harper is a prudent manager of the country's economy, and maybe they're less impressed with Mr. Trudeau's economics position, platform, commitment to deficit spending.
We have both an ambitious and a realistic understanding of the economy. So we build the economy and make sure that right now with low interest rates, the only way the government can actually encourage the economy and make it more buoyant is through infrastructure spending and very modest deficits. And so we are being transparent about that.
We just received great news on our surplus in 2014-15. We balanced the budget, or we will balance the budget in 2015-16. Economic leadership by this government is very well demonstrated, and I think that clearly Prime Minister Harper has demonstrated he's the right leader to lead a $2 trillion economy in difficult economic times globally, and we're seeing the results of that with balanced budgets now.
We want to create more jobs by helping small businesses lower their taxes 11% to 9%, and encouraging small businesses to then hire young people, young individuals to the business, right? So that would help as well, and supporting the small businesses because they are also the backbone of our economy.
Which party do you think best addresses the concerns here, in your opinion?
I think probably NDP. I mean, that's what everyone is sort of looking at in this neighborhood. Yeah.
I think that there are so many part-time jobs, so we need full-time jobs. Is that too hard for you?
Which government do you think will be able to help you with that?
I'm a conservative.
Okay.
Yeah. For many years. I think Harper is a great guy. Well, I know others, are trying, but I'm a conservative.
What about the economy?
What about the economy? Although the government says there's a surplus, there's supposed to be a recession going on. And I know there's been cut in health care to the nursing homes. I'm very concerned about that because we have people in a nursing home. We're concerned about everything. And climate change, the whole works.
Traffic congestion is also a big deal for this riding. With the construction of that crosstown Eglinton line, getting around has become a nightmare.
It's one of our big concerns around here. People going through our neighborhoods too fast, speeding.
When you have an Eglinton Avenue fully congested, the traffic then disperses into local communities, and that's very challenging because you've got cars speeding through communities, trying to get where they're going faster, trying to bypass the congestion. That creates difficulty for everybody. Infrastructure and transit are a big part of what we are investing in this community, in the GTA. As you know, we recently announced a $2.6 billion commitment to Smart Track, which will pull traffic or pull passenger load from the center core out to the Smart Track facilities. And that should make a tremendous difference.
It's the speed of traffic that is also top of mind for residents of the Leaside neighborhood. These signs, which have now spread across many communities, originated here after a little girl was hit by a car and killed.
After George's death, I also held a meeting. I invited John Tory, who was then a candidate for mayor, and said, you need to listen to our issues around here. We have development that has gone on here on Laird that has changed the traffic flow through Leaside. We have construction, and it's great news that we'll have an LRT on Eglinton, but for 5 years we've got traffic going through Leaside, speeding. We have pedestrians who are maybe not as conscious as they should be. We all have to work on that together, so we have to work on drivers, on pedestrians, and on bylaws.
But it's not a federal issue.
It is a federal issue in that this government, I think, has failed to fund infrastructure because we know that one way to get cars off the road is to provide better public transit. So the more public transit you have, The fewer cars you have on the road, that helps traffic. So I do believe it's a federal issue, so not at the bylaw level, but at the funding level.
Another non-federal issue is dominating the political conversation in this riding, especially in Thorncliffe Park, and that is the Ontario Liberals' new sex ed curriculum. What's wrong with the sex ed curriculum?
It's controversial. It's not respecting the religious, cultural, and on top of it, everything kept aside. Science doesn't accept it. We've been talking to the doctors, psychologists, and psychiatrists about this, and they said that this is not at all appropriate for the kids that it is being suggested or which is being taught to the kids.
Children should be given an education about sex, but not in the manner they have proposed. We have a different idea altogether about that.
Sex ed.
No.
What are you hearing about sex ed?
I'm hearing it every single day. Every single day I'm hearing about sex education. This is something that we need to educate the parents. We need to inform them. Like, even though it's a provincial matter, I cannot speak on behalf of provincial leaders, but what I could advise is that parents need to be educated on what the bill is, because we do not want our kids to be studying under a tree. We have come a long way in civilization to be bringing our kids back and making them study under a tree. And I'm pretty sure that you've probably seen it outside of the public school, or maybe you've heard the news. Well, in protest, they're going to take their kids and educate them under a tree. Instead of sending them to class. I think it's unfair to the kids. Kids don't have any say in this. I'm pretty sure that they feel, if I was the kid, I would feel pretty bad that my friends are sitting on chairs and tables and studying while I'm here under a tree, just getting educated by people who are not trained to educate me.
And that might be a big downfall for the Liberals, because Kathleen right now is in a hot seat, so he might not be the same, because it's different governments dealing with different things, but he's going to get the backlash for it. So maybe he should talk to Kathleen and do what people want.
Does it injure the Liberal brand in Thorncliffe Park?
I wouldn't say it's injured. What I would say is it's a challenge for me. It's a challenge for me because people are feeling that they're not being involved in the implementation. I generally find that people are not against the whole curriculum. They're concerned that they don't know enough about it, and they're concerned about age appropriateness. I get that at the door. And what I say to them is that every school has a responsibility to make sure parents are brought along too.
This is an issue that is particularly troubling to a number of different culture groups. I've been very clear on it. I believe the curriculum needs updating, but I believe it has to be done with consultation with parents, with family groups, and I've been very clear that I side with the parents on this one.
But it's not your jurisdiction, right?
No, it's a provincial jurisdiction, and I encourage my provincial counterpart, the Premier, to get together with community groups and get this thing fixed.
The riding is home to many young families, especially in Thorncliffe Park and Leaside. What are young families telling you about your party's platform around childcare?
People like it. They know. I mean, a childcare plan as proposed by Thomas Mulcair does not hit very many families here. A, we don't have enough childcare spaces, and B, most parents have parental leave for the first year, and then they're in school by age 4. So we have those years at 2 and 3 years of age that are, and it is a crisis, and so we need to find a way to build more spaces and get more social infrastructure, which our plan is doing, but we also have to help parents get more money so they can pay for childcare. And our Canada Child Benefit is going to be getting cash in the hands of parents. It's still not well enough known yet. Like, I'm having to remind people that we are doing this, and we have to remind them that it is tax-free as opposed to taxed, as Mr. Harper's plan is.
I hear great response to things like universal child benefits, which we've just announced increases in those this year. Tax advantages that are available to families. In fact, some 4 million families benefit by our tax cuts that were announced earlier this year and solidified in the budget, and clearly that's an important part of what we're doing. As far as child care, That's our solution, is that those tax cuts and those universal child benefits will help in meeting that demand.
They'll help, but they're not going to meet the demand entirely.
Well, you can't meet the demand entirely. It's a very expensive proposition, and when you look at propositions that are going to cost $5 to $10 billion on the backs of taxpayers to meet that demand, that's not a realistic solution either.
As you can already hear, you can hear little kids, crying and screaming. So there are a lot of young families that live here who cannot afford $72 a day for daycare. So $15 a day daycare will help them, on their budget, on their, daily expenses, and, give a good care facility for people who cannot afford it. So this is part of our economy, is childcare. You cannot afford $1,600 a month.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to take one of your flyers.
Well, I'll give you this.
The fourth candidate in Don Valley West is John Kitteridge. He's running for the Libertarian Party.
We're not running to get elected. We're not that unrealistic. What we want to do is have an opportunity to talk about this idea of less government rather than more. So what we want, not only for Don Valley West, but all the ridings in Canada, is for people to think about that. And normally people don't. People believe whatever government is in power, telling them that we need more government in order to solve our problems. And if you scratch the surface of a lot of the problems that we have, in fact, my belief is most of them, you'll find that it has been past government practice that caused that issue in the first place. And we're just inviting more, even if we change the current government, which I seriously hope we do. The two leading parties, the two leading opposition parties, will just impose their own view of more government.
Which party are you looking to?
I don't really know. I'm really on the fence. I won't vote NDP, but I am really vacillating between Liberals and PC. But I'm waiting and reading and trying to get more information, but I haven't made a decision yet.
Are you caring about the election at all, or?
Somewhat. I'm kind of, I'm aware of what's going on, but not really into it. I think as we get closer, the more I start reading and acquiring knowledge about the election and the candidates.
What matters to you the most right now?
I need someone that's someone that feels fresh and new with new ideas, because it just seems like what's been happening hasn't been working really. So someone that wants to get to work right away, and try to get through all the bureaucracy and the red tape. A real leader.
It's very difficult. It's very close. Could be liberal or conservative. But Mr. Harper is very powerful. He's very powerful.
Professor Siamatiki agrees the race is between conservative Carmichael and liberal Oliphant, and it's going to be close.
The issue in Don Valley is, do you like the last 4 or 5 years of a majority conservative government? I think the ballot question is going to be Mr. Harper. And it'll be very interesting to see which way that race goes. I mean, historically, the NDP is not really a factor in that riding, so it really is a two-horse race. But it was it was close to a photo finish last time, and by all accounts, it should be still quite close, and we'll see.
To cap off our interviews, I asked each of the three main candidates what other issues they care about.
The veterans issue, the long-term care. I spoke to two ladies from Sunnybrook, which comes under my riding, and I had a pleasure speaking with them, and they made me, I knew that there was an issue, but they made me more aware of it, and I wanted to learn more from them. And, we have care for the veterans from World War II and the Korean War, but what about our new veterans? What about them? We should be helping them out, because they are, protecting our borders, they're protecting us overseas, and we should be taking care of them when they come back home, because this is their home, and we need to have their back. So we need to have healthcare professionals who are dedicated to helping them out for mental health issues as well, because suicide rate in between soldiers is higher in comparison to the deaths that are happening overseas, and that's not acceptable. Our country should unite together on this issue and have the veterans back, have our soldiers back, because they have our back.
Honesty. So what we are telling the people in Leaside and throughout all of Don Valley West, we will tell them the truth about our economy, about ourselves, and help them hear the message of government in a way that will I'm hoping reduce cynicism. Cynicism is a big issue out there right now, and as long as governments play politics on the economy or play politics on sex ed or play politics on anything, cynicism just grows, and so voter turnout goes down. So I think this government will manage the economy well, but tell the truth about it. And I think that will basically kill two birds with one stone, in that we will help people with jobs, help people with income security, and help people with their cynicism about government.
Well, the economy happens to be my number one issue, and that's why we're here today inside a small business in Leaside. This business is a representation of all of what my community is in Don Valley West, and that's why I'm so glad we're here today. Small business represents 95% of the economy, and so number one, I want to see we've lowered taxes, we've done a lot to create employment or to assist in businesses in creating employment, and so I'm delighted to be here today that we can showcase a classic business in our riding, and this is where we live.
There is a fifth candidate running in this riding. That's Elizabeth Hall. She's representing the Communist Party of Canada. From Don Valley West, I'm Larry Batista for CPAC.